Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geography, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Wednesday, May 10th, around 9 p.m. Mountain Time 2023. A 7.6 earthquake struck off Tonga earlier this morning. There was no tsunami warning as it was at quite a great depth. But the big story, the latest CME tracking model shows, well, we have a G3 geomagnetic storm watch for tomorrow. Keep calm. It's Aurora time. Heads up, Oklahoma. There's a risk for severe weather Thursday. There is a severe weather threat Thursday in Oklahoma with all modes of severe weather possible. The tornado threat is relatively low, but that could change depending on how warm it gets in Oklahoma. Storm threat increases Thursday and Friday for Nebraska as well, as northwest Kansas storms produce tornado and torrential rains as well as damaging winds with this system. Heavy rain fell in Parker as well as hail, holy macaroni, and severe thunderstorms warnings are impacting the Front Range and Eastern Plains as we speak. Severe weather continues around Denver, and an Oregon heat wave is coming. And no one's bumming, but don't jump in the river. These rivers are freezing cold. Now, it's going to be hot this weekend in much of Oregon and southwest Washington, with temperatures along Interstate 5 corridor likely to reach the 90s. But the temperatures in the rivers are freezing. It is not... Cold water shock is the leading cause of drowning. That's why we make sure when we go on whitewater that everyone has wetsuits or dry suits. You can't just go out and think if you fall in a spring river, it's going to be a paddle to the shore. You will literally have a heart attack. So take heed as the temperatures rise in spring. Ding, ding. Overnight hailstorm hits parts of Colorado and the Front Range. Golf ball or greater size hail. Take a look at that. We had golf ball size hail damage cars in Erie. Let's take a look at this video footage here.
Brianna Fernandez is in Erie right now with a look at some of the damage we're seeing this morning. Brianna, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jordan, Corey. Yeah, a lot of people waking up to all of this damage that they were hearing last night, and now they're seeing what their car looks like. Obviously, this morning as the sun comes up, we've been in this neighborhood called the Grandview neighborhood just off Erie Parkway, and I'm just right now joined by one of the homeowners who lives in this area, who has been living in this area for about 7 months. Sherrod, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Kind of walk me through what you heard last night.
Okay, yeah, last night my girlfriend and I were going to bed around about 10:45 p.m. and all of a sudden we just heard like a heavy sound going on, and we looked out the window and it was like golf ball size balls that were coming down, and it was just pounding on the car, the windows, the roof, and everything like that. It was coming down. I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, pretty hard hitting areas, especially here in Erie, and a lot of people have been sending.
This man apparently has never seen hail. Holy macaroni. Well, let's get on with the full forecast. Good news for Lake Powell. As the snowpack continues to melt, forecasters are predicting Lake Powell to rise 90 feet by midsummer. That is record-breaking. And what that means is that most of the marinas that have been shut down for years will reopen. In fact, almost all of them. By the end of the summer, if the lake does in fact rise 90 feet, well, all our predictions are coming true once again. Heavy rain in the lower Mississippi Valley, severe storms in the high plains. A low pressure system just off the Gulf Coast will continue producing strong to severe thunderstorms with heavy rain that could cause flash flooding in the lower Mississippi Valley. Across the northern and central high plains, severe storms capable of tornadoes, damaging winds, very large hail, and locally heavy rain will be possible. Critical fire weather threats persist in the southwest. Let's take a look at that severe weather threat. Take a look at Saturday is looking quite exceptional for Texas, the nexus of the Schmexus. Let's just move this back. There is the severe weather threat in Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Kansas moving through Thursday and Friday. Not much except this explosion happening from, well, East to west across the state, it is going to be quite an epic explosion of activity. Saturday and Sunday won't be a fun day, won't be a fun weekend for Texas, where they're going to experience up to 5 inches of rain in some areas. And the snow will continue to fall across Colorado for the next few days here. Take a look. Starting now, it's snowing now. It's freezing outside. The high elevations will pick up more snow along the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, all the way down to New Mexico. Some light snow in Utah, as well as it looks like northwestern Wyoming and southern Montana. But the forecast is showing no more snow, really, except for eastern Canada through mid-May. Good news. Bad news for flooding potential in Texas, especially South Texas. These are the storms we're talking about through the end of the weekend. Take a look at some of these totals. Could be up to 6 to 10 inches in South Texas along some of these bands. Overall, flooding overall on the state. Eastern Oklahoma could see some flooding. Southern Nebraska and northern North Dakota. Say it ain't soda. 7.6 earthquake hit off Tonga, and people lost their minds. They just don't know about geophysical activity. This quake was at 200 plus kilometers, which means probably nothing to anyone. As usual, almost nobody felt it. There were no tsunami warnings and just a non-event. But good news, that was released on Earth and not near people. No tsunami warning, advisory watch, or threat whatsoever. Some aftershocks, at least one in the 5 magnitude. No other quakes of note. A couple quakes stacking up here around the 5 magnitude in Mexico on the western coast. But overall, it is pretty quiet across the world. Worldwide volcano news update, quiet as well. We do have some activity from Krakatoa picking up multiple puffs to around 5,000 to 7,000 feet over the last few days. Liwotolol as well, puffing to 6,000. Sabancaya, Sakurajima, Nevado de Ruiz, and the regular people. Well, volcanoes showing up on the update. Now let's talk about the latest space weather news. We've got a strong G3 storm watch, and this looks potentially significant. Let's take a look at the WSA Enlil spiral for the event. Now, it's been a spicy week for the sun, but the geomagnetic storm forecast that was coming from these particular solar flares, this is a coronal mass ejection accentuated by a coronal hole, really didn't amount to much. We are currently in a proton storm as those levels continue to increase from the CME, but the magnetometer looks pretty blank. Proton flux is an issue, but the telemetry is dropping off and all is quiet. We're dropping down below 600 kilometers per second. But the WSA Enlil solar wind prediction is showing 2 CMEs coming out recently. There's 1, 2, boom, boom. And a third one with a rapid speed. So we're going to get multiple events layering upon each other, starting the 11th through the 12th, which, in my opinion, will lead to geomagnetic storm. When we have events like this, cannibal events that layer upon each other, boom, and then another one rapidly takes over the other one, the effects don't have enough time to wane from Earth before the next event hits us. So that's what looks like is lining up for the 3-day geomagnetic auroral forecast. Within about 12 hours, we should start spiking up into what is expected to be potentially KP7 and stay at 6 or 7 for quite some time, at least 9 hours into May 12th, and then it will drop off and all will be quiet on the Western Front because very little activity is coming from the sun as all is getting quiet, and the disk is going to be losing all these spots in just a few days. Now, here's some interesting space weather news. A possible meteorite slams through the roof of a home in New Jersey last night, and it was, well, pretty amazing.
Mystery tonight in New Jersey after some kind of foreign object came crashing through the roof of one home. It happened in the Mercer County town of Hopewell. A 4 by 6 inch metallic object slamming through the roof and right into the hardware floor. Look at that. Well, it's not yet definite what it is. It's believed it could be a meteorite from a recent meteor shower. Residents were home at the time, but fortunately, no one got hurt.
Now, this object definitely looks like something that came from space, but not necessarily a meteorite, in my opinion. A little too weird, crusty black on the surface, and a little too metallic in the reveal. It could actually be a piece of a melted satellite that smashed the house. But it's all up in the air, and we will inform you when we get the details. Now, we have big news. The first observational evidence of the Beaufort Gyre stabilization. Now, we've been following the Beaufort Gyre for almost a decade now, which could be a precursor to huge freshwater releases from the Arctic Sea out into the Atlantic Ocean. And when that happens, it can shut down the AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. And that would mean bad news for Europe. It would literally change the climate in Europe to an Ice Age empire. So the first observational evidence of the Beaufort Gyre stabilization has been made, and a paper has been released. Recent state transition of the Arctic Ocean's Beaufort Gyre. Now, the anticyclonic Beaufort Gyre is the dominant circulation of the Canadian Basin and the largest freshwater reservoir in the Arctic Ocean. Let's get a graphic up so you can understand what we're talking about. So here you can see the Beaufort Gyre in the western Arctic Ocean that's been accumulating for years. It's been growing and hasn't been released, which is a worry for many climate scientists. Not the alarmists, just the real ones. Because when this releases, there is a transpolar current that pulls it around Greenland, and the most significant flow is right here through the warmer waters of the North Atlantic Current when it's released into the Atlantic Ocean. This is where the AMOC, the North Atlantic Current, ends and dumps the warm water up here near into the Arctic Ocean. But when the Beaufort Gyre releases, it could cause such havoc on the AMOC that it could potentially shut it down. Now, using an extensive hydrographic data set from 2003 to 2019, together with updated satellite dynamic ocean topography data, this team found that over the past decade, the Beaufort Gyre has transitioned to a quasi-stable state in which the increase in sea surface height of the gyre has slowly and the freshwater content has plateaued. What happens now? That's the question. In addition, the cold halocene layer, which isolates the warm, salty Atlantic water at depth, has thinned significantly due to less input of cold and salty water stemming from the Pacific Ocean and the Chukchi Sea shelf, together with greater entrainment of lighter water from the eastern Beaufort Sea. This recent transition of the Beaufort Gyre is associated with a southeastward shift in its location as a result of variation in the regional wind forcing. So the wind is pushing the gyre to the east, where it could be released to the Atlantic. Now, according to the paper, the results imply that continued thinning of the cold halocene layer could modulate the present stable state, allowing for the freshwater release into the Atlantic. This, in turn, could freshen the subpolar North Atlantic, impacting the AMOC and, well, sending Europe into an ice age. Holy macaroni. If you have any questions, you can join our new platform at 5.me/diamond, where you can join for free. You can upgrade your membership to paid and join us for a monthly live stream where we just chit chat for about an hour. 86 members now, 48 conversations. What are you waiting for? Join the conversation at 5.me and ask Diamond anything. And that is a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Please become a Patreon and support the work we do. You can watch all of our content commercial free. What could be better than that? We love each and every one of you. Be safe. And that is a boom. Oh yeah, become a Patreon. Support the work we do and watch. Oh, we already said that.